What's your weakness? 在这么多的面试问题当中，这绝对是最难回答的问题。应该要说实话吗？还是要多一些包装呢？ So, let's dive in today. Hello, 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast. I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. In the last episode, we talked about HBR's new suggestion for how to handle the classic question, what are your strengths in an interview? So of course, we need to flip it around and talk about what are your weaknesses and looking at what HBR has to say about this new method for answering this question.
So, 我们之前其实都有提到我们要怎么样回答 What's your weakness? Or what are your weaknesses? 那其实这个问题真的是非常 tricky. 有很多的人通常都会想说，那我到底是要说实话，还是说我要来做多一点包装？我要该怎么样去 pivot or frame 我的这个问题？那其实我觉得这个 HBR 他们今天所提供的 suggestion， 我觉得还蛮适合大家来做很初步的构想的时候可以来使用。
The first step that they talk about is that when we use the term weakness, that the reframing should not be weakness because that sounds more permanent or harder to change, but a challenge. Something that is challenging you or in the past has been a challenge for you because that frames it more as like, I can tackle this problem, I can overcome this challenge.
Yeah, I completely agree. 因为 weakness 有的时候我们会想是一种好像是缺陷，就是我们无法改变的一件事实。但是 challenge 你就会可以把它想成是一个挑战。所以当我们在想说我们要来讲什么答案的时候，可以先来想一下Okay, what's our challenge and at work? 那我觉得这个部分呢，你可能会我们之后的做简单的 framing 的上面，它就会比较正向。So suggestion number 2, 也就是这一些你所提到的所谓 challenge, it should be easily correctable through trainings or commitments. 它不是那种不能改变的东西，它是可以改变，而且你很积极的在改变。
And 1 and 2 fold into number 3, which is avoid cliches. And honestly, this piece of advice itself is a cliche. But very simple reminder of don't use things that are like, I'm a workaholic, or I try too hard, or I care too much. These are A, don't feel very genuine. B, they feel more like a personality issue, not a challenge that can be overcome, right? Like if you are genuinely a workaholic, that is way more than a challenge. Right. That's usually like a huge commitment to overcome, and it has a lot of complications. So stay away from these things. Just focus on what things challenge me and then getting into the next piece of how to overcome them.
因为刚刚 Nick 有稍微提到，就是如果这个是一个个性的问题，所以有些人可能说I'm a bit indecisive. 这个是个性的问题。I don't really think it's easy to change through trainings and commitments, right? So when interviewers hear that, they're going to think that, oh, that's not good. And no matter what you say, that's still going to bother them.
The next piece of advice is something that I feel is much newer in all of the information that's out there, but it makes a lot of sense. And the fourth piece of advice that HBR gave is choose a challenge that is not core to the job's responsibilities. So you cannot be so far outside of the job description that your weakness, you're clearly deflecting the problem. You're like trying to get around this question where your weakness has literally nothing to do with the job. You still need to choose something that has related to the job, but is not a core competency for getting the job done. So for example, if you're a manager, one of your core weaknesses should not be like delegation. Why? Because that's literally central to management's job.
So for example, 如果你是一个 marketing manager, 那你说, my weakness is public speaking. That's going to be an issue, 因为 marketing 你就是对外的沟通。那如果你说, okay, I don't like to speak in front of people, that's definitely a core competency for that job.
So in reverse of what we talked about in the strengths, if you look at the job description and they have very clear qualification requirements, your weakness cannot directly contradict one of those core requirements. And it should still be related to the job. Say if you're a manager, it shouldn't be about, let's say, team building is a core weakness, but maybe to steal Sherry's examples, maybe public speaking is not really your thing. You're more of a like one-on-one kind of person building a relationship. So that's a challenge you can overcome, right? If I need to stand up and talk in front of the entirety of the company, that's something I need to work on. But because I have really good interpersonal people skills, maybe in a one-on-one situation, that's okay. But if you're like, I'm a manager and I just don't know how to give people tasks or manage time, then this is a core competency problem.
Right. 所以 in a way, 我觉得跟 what's your strength 其实有一点类似跟相反吧。你都是要去看 job description, right? That's really important. 但是 what's your strength 应该要是你的 job description 其中一个。但是 what's your weakness 那你就很小心了，就是要提出不是在你的 job description 上面的。
So let's talk quickly about how you phrase this question. HBR gives a suggestion that, similar to strength, you should lay out your weakness. You should talk about what the minor consequences are of this weakness. This isn't, again, an example. And then your eagerness to overcome or address this weakness. So it's not just simply like, oh, I have this weakness and you'll find out later. It's more like you can show an example of how this has affected you, potentially why you want to overcome it, and then what you're doing to do that.
All right, so let's talk about some examples. 那其中一个 sample answer 也就是 One of my challenges is my lack of professional experience with presentation tools like PowerPoint and Canva. In the past, I've had specialists design these materials for me, but they don't always know the content as well as I do. So one of my goals is this year is to learn these applications to create my own presentation and continually improving my skill. I think this is pretty smart 因为 make PowerPoint or using Canva 这个是很容易学的 right? It's easy to learn. You can probably learn in like a week or so and it just takes a little bit of practice. 那这个部分因为可能会不会使用 Canva 可能对你的大部分的人工作没有太大的差别而且呢他在这个 example 他有一点 hint 就是我以前是找其他 specialist 帮我做所以这也代表了他是会做演讲的 This person actually does presentation. She or he just doesn't actually do the material herself or himself.
Yeah, they actually kind of very smartly or sneakily slide that in there, which is like they don't know the material as well as I do.
Right.
They're not questioning their own knowledge base. They're not questioning their own presentation skill. What they're talking about is the process or the tools necessary to do it 100% themselves.
Right.
I think that's actually quite brilliant in that you're answering the question. It is a weakness that you're trying to address, but you're also framing it in a way that it's like, I do have these strengths, but I think these strengths could be even better if I overcome this weakness. I think that using this kind of thought process of perhaps it's a tool or perhaps it's a skill to, again, overcome a challenge. But that challenge may not be, I am terrible at this. That challenge may be is, I'm okay at this thing, but I could be awesome if I just fix these things. We'll leave other examples inside of the show notes, But I think looking at these and really understanding how the flow and process works from 1, how do you reimagine a weakness as a challenge? 2, choose skills to talk about or tools that are easily correctable through training or commitment. 3, avoid the cliches. 4, choose a challenge that's not core to the job's responsibilities. And then 5, how do you express it? The weakness, an example of how that weakness affects you, and why you're so keen to overcome it. We hope you enjoyed these 2 quick reviews of how to answer strength and weakness questions in an interview, and going forward, you will rethink about the best ways to answer. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.